Let's talk disclosure. For real, the topic of today's YouTube video is disclosure, specifically when it comes to dating with a disability. I'll be honest with you guys and girls, I sat down to record this video yesterday, going in with thinking I was just going to freely talk about the topic of dating with a disability. And as I sat here and rambled in front of the camera, I realized that there's so many subcategories within the whole dating with a disability topic, and I want to keep it concise. And by doing that, I think it may be best for me to create a little mini series. Don't know why I karate chopped. A mini series of dating with a disability. And I want to start off where dating starts. Very initial first steps. You're meeting someone, you're getting to know them, you're deciding whether or not you should or should not disclose your disability. And this, of course, doesn't have to be specifically disability. If there is something about your life or about you that you're scared to tell someone you're potentially going to be dating, this can also apply to you. But specifically, I'm going to be talking about a physical disability because that is what I have. Before I dive into this topic here, I do want to establish a little bit of my credibility on the topic just because I'm single. So who am I to be here giving advice on dating when I don't have a success story to tell? So I'm 30 now. I started using dating apps right around when they started getting popular. So my early 20s, right out of college, being on the apps for almost a decade. I've learned a lot about myself, about the way I embrace and love and deal with my disability. So the person I am now is completely different from the person I was at 23, 24, 25. And that really reflects a lot in how I show myself off on my dating profile on dating apps. And, with almost a decade of dating on and off throughout the years using the apps, I've definitely evolved in my approaches to dating with a disability, and I feel that while I don't personally have that success story yet, I feel a lot more confident in who I am when I'm approaching dating and meeting new people because of the things I've learned from what I did when I was younger approaching dating that I honestly would not do now. So I'm going to share a little bit of anecdotes. I'm going to share some stories of things that I did when I was younger that I wouldn't do now, and then also share some advice when it comes to disclosing your disability with a potential date. So it's probably safe to say that most people would prefer to meet the love of their life out and about, maybe at a grocery store, a little meet cute, whatever it may be. I know that's what I've always kind of been aiming for. But unfortunately, in this generation, dating apps and online dating is so popular that people almost entirely depend on it versus in-person meetings. That said, I know there's a lot of benefits to dating online. I first downloaded, I think Tinder was the most popular one at the time, in my early 20s. I'm filling out my form and, I'm with all my friends and everyone says what I like to do. These are my favorite photos of myself, things like that. And I'm sitting there with everyone and I'm doing the same as them. But in the back of my mind, I have this huge fear kind of just like looming, screaming to myself, do I say my disability? Do I write that I'm disabled? Do I write that I walk different? Or do I not? And at the time when I was not comfortable talking about my disability with anyone, while granted my friends I'm sure would have been open to having this discussion with me, but I didn't want to be like a burden to them. I didn't want to put these like heavy thoughts, feeling the possibility of rejection. I didn't want to put this on other people. So I kept a lot of that inside and I internalized it. So what did I do? I turned to Google. How do I set up my dating profile if I'm disabled? Should I say it? Should I not? Looking for answers, looking for some kind of guidebook of how do I date while being disabled. As to no one's surprise, that does not exist, as for most things. I wish there was a handbook for life, but there isn't. So I kind of had to just jump in and do what I thought was best at the time. The version of me that started on dating apps in my early 20s is extremely different from the version of me now, in the sense that now I'm open about my disability and I talk about it proactively. When before, I would kind of only bring it up if someone asked me. I would answer questions but wouldn't really give a lot of information because I wasn't comfortable myself. I'll be honest, I used to not disclose my disability when I was dating. I remember a few instances where I actually didn't even tell the person I was meeting at all prior to us meeting in person. So what that involved was, we match on the app, we message back and forth for a little while, we texted for a little while, and I really genuinely thought, if I can get this person to get to know me before we meet in person, if they can see, I'm a fun girl, I have my life together. Once they meet me, if they learn about my disability, it won't matter to them because we've already established this somewhat of a something. I don't know what to call it. I first started on the apps, that was definitely my approach. That was met with a lot of learning for me, because it really depends on the person. But I'll say the majority of the time when I did that, the look on the guy's face when he sees me walking for the first time is something that definitely replays in my head every once in a while. Just the look of shock, of them not understanding. But I think, like, how could you not be shocked? And I try to put myself in the other person's shoes. If there was something my potential date wasn't telling me or being honest about up front, would I feel blindsided by that? Would I feel uncomfortable asking them about something that they didn't bring up in the first place? That's kind of where I'm at now. But yes, I did used to not disclose it. Dating in general is very nerve-wracking. It's very stressful. You're putting yourself outside of your comfort zone. There's all of those things going on preparing for a date. And then when you add disability to it, it adds a whole extra layer of nerves. And then when you don't tell the person you're going to meet you're disabled, I think that just makes it even more scary for me, for the disabled person myself, because not only am I trying to get this person to get to know me, to see if we have good chemistry, if this is going to work out. We've talked up until now. He seems like a great match. I have this huge anxiety of I also have to deal with the elephant in the room as soon as we meet, because my disability is not something I can hide. That said, after a couple years of trying that approach, a couple not so great experiences, I decided that while I still wouldn't put it on my profile, I would get to know the guy, but before we met, I would let them know I had a disability. I think that is a totally fine approach for if you're not comfortable putting it on your profile. And with that, I think a really important part of it is it helps you ease your own mind going into meeting someone for the first time. I think when I'm going to meet someone, I want to feel confident in myself. I want to be comfortable in myself. I want to be able to meet that person where we are. Let's say we're at dinner or we're grabbing a drink. I want to be able to be in that conversation instead of, again, having my brain and these looming thoughts above me. When do I bring up my disability? Is now the right time to bring it up? Should I have brought it up already? So what I would do is, let's say, they ask me on a date, we have something scheduled, it's getting closer to the time of us meeting in person, and I still haven't told them yet. What I'll do is I like to keep it casual, but I do like to mention it, and I like to kind of make them feel comfortable, and I just want to get it out there so that, again, I can feel comfortable going on this date. So I'll say something like, hey, before we meet tomorrow, just wanted to give you a quick heads up that I do have a walking disability. I use a mobility scooter sometimes, but I can walk independently. Just give them pretty high level stuff. Say, if you have any questions about it, I'm totally open to answering them. Just wanted to let you know beforehand. Something as simple as that. I will be honest, I have gotten a mix of responses from that. Some people won't even hesitate. They'll be like, okay, thanks for letting me know. Or they'll respond with a couple questions. and we can still move forward to the date. Some people will honestly just not respond or ghost me, which honestly, I always view that as a very big sign of that's not someone I want to be with. I think it shows a lot of their character, that they're not willing to learn about someone who goes through a different experience than them, or someone that's just instantly judgmental. And I do want to say, if anyone watching is ghosted due to your disability specifically, it's not a reflection of you or your disability, it's a reflection of that person. Maybe they're not comfortable with disability because they don't know anyone disabled in their life. Maybe they don't have any information or education about disability, and the only things they know are the scary sides. I know that the way I walk personally is all over the internet. A lot of my stories is out online for a potential date to just easily look up. But the version of me 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 years ago did not have that. So I very much relate to not having my story out there. I very much know the anxieties that it is leading up to a date. As we're talking through kind of the evolution of my dating and disclosing my disability online, so we had the first one where didn't tell the person at all. Second one, don't have it listed on my profile, but I let them know beforehand. And the third one is where I'm at now, after lots of experiments and failures and minor successes in this journey. I like to personally just put my disability on my profile. I'm always very open. I know some people feel it's not your responsibility to educate potential partners about your disability, and I understand that take fully. I do. But I just like to have the mindset that if the person is willing to learn, and they just simply may not know. They simply may not know anyone in their life with a disability, and if just giving them a little bit of education helps calm their nerves, why not? So my advice now, as someone who's gone through the internal work of loving myself fully and my disability, I like to just put it all out there. I like to have it on my profile. It helps me feel a lot more comfortable entering a conversation with a potential date. It makes me feel comfortable going on a first date, and it just kind of shows the other person you're open to talking about it, because I think they can potentially experience anxiety as well. If they do see you're disabled and you haven't brought it up, they may feel like, oh, maybe they don't want to talk about it. I don't want to overstep what I should or shouldn't ask. There's no right or wrong way to approach this, but while you're nervous, your potential date could be nervous as well. Beyond that, I want you to feel comfortable going on a date, and if you're able to feel more comfortable by giving your potential date that heads up, letting them know you're open to any questions, they think that it can just be really helpful for your own mindset going into this, and also saves you time in knowing if someone is able to get to know you. That is something I've always been pretty big on, because I really value my time, and if I'm going out of my way to meet someone, to go on a date with them, I want to know beforehand if they're just gonna walk away as soon as they see me. I do like to bring up my disability in a fun way. I'll say things to kind of break the ice, let them know it's not this scary topic. It is part of my life, so I do need to recognize it, but it isn't something that we need to sit and have this whole deep, serious conversation on. I'll say things like, I have a walking disability, but I can cut the lines at theme parks, which some theme parks are getting a little more strict on, but I'm gonna keep that line in. I'll introduce my mobility scooter. We can talk about it and then move on to the real stuff, like, are we compatible? What things do you like to do on the weekends? Through my trial and error, I will stand by. I feel that it's better to just get it out there. With most disabilities, it really is case by case in how it affects certain things, so I'm sure hearing it from you specifically would help them make more sense of the way things are. From the beginning, while you're establishing this talking phase or whatever it may be, you being upfront and honest about your disability, I think sets kind of the tone for what a good relationship is, and that's open, honest communication. So, while of course dating with a disability is really hard and challenging, there are benefits that I truly believe, and that is establishing a good foundation and being able to communicate with each other in ways that make you both feel comfortable, you both can be understanding of each other. Something I also wanted to say is that if you are comfortable disclosing your disability, especially after watching this video, if it's something you want to pursue or start doing, it is okay to set boundaries. If you communicate to your potential date that you have a disability, they have some questions, you answer them, fine. And then let's say you meet and they have 10 more questions. I think it's more than fine to say something along the lines of, I'm more than happy to share information about my disability and how it impacts me, but I also just want to get to know you as a person and I want you to get to know me. So while I'd love to continue this conversation on this specific topic, can we circle back to it? I think that just establishes boundaries, which is also a really critical thing to have in a relationship in general. So I just wanted to share that extra little tidbit when it comes to disclosing your disability and sharing it with someone new. That is part 1 of this little mini series here, all about dating with a disability. But please let me know in the comments if there's anything about dating with a disability you'd like me to touch on. I think this is a really important topic, especially to me, especially to the younger version of me who was so desperate to find people to talk about this with because I didn't know how to navigate it. I felt very isolated, very alone, very unsure of how to do it. While I don't have a success story, I'm very confident that the person I'm going to meet will not care about my disability, in a sense that they'll love me and my disability as one package as we are. So my hopes are still high, and that is also something that I will tell everyone watching this. Just continue to be yourself, be true to yourself, don't settle. The person that you are meant to be with is out there. And in the meantime, be sure to love and celebrate who you are and everything that you love and that you do, because you're only going to attract the right person if you are celebrating yourself. So thank you all for tuning in.